You don't have to be good at Yu-Gi-Oh to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh. So this is actually something that I tweeted out a few days ago, and I believe it wholeheartedly, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more in this video because it's something that, as it goes with many of these videos, I have seen loads online. This sort of sentiment that some people have that, if you're not good at Yu-Gi-Oh, then you're doing it wrong or enjoying it the wrong way, or that it's not even worth being involved in Yu-Gi-Oh or like playing Yu-Gi-Oh unless you're good at it. Oh God, lots to unpack here. So, like I said, that's what some people think. I'm not saying that that's what all people think. It's just what some people think. I wanted to tackle this a bit with, I guess, a bit of a history lesson on where the Yu-Gi-Oh community, specifically, I guess the online community, has sort of come from, where it's coming from. So, I at least remember kind of when I got into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, which I guess was around like 2008, 9, 10, one of those years. I wasn't like good at it. I was just kind of getting into it and learning how the game worked. And in many cases, the kind of bar for your worth at like, in a local community, at a card shop or whatever, was how good you did at tournaments. What were your tournament results? I know that there's like a lot of weight that's put behind, getting an invite at a regional. At Yu-Gi-Oh regional events, if you get a top 8, 16, 32, depends on the size of the regional, then you'll get what's called an invitation or an invite to nationals. And, if you've gotten your invite during the year, you can go to nationals in the summer, have a chance to win or do well at nationals, which would then get you invited to worlds, so on and so forth. So the idea of, getting an invite at a regional, or even better, getting a top at a regional, which is a little bit tougher, would mean that, you're a good Yu-Gi-Oh player. You gotta have tops and invites to your name to have respect. And also, this, just as a general thing, I remember like in the YugiTube community, and this has certainly changed now, but I remember for a long time in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, or the YugiTube community, channels were gauged more so on, how good the player behind them was. So, like, because early on in YouTube, most people were just, showing deck profiles, doing tournament reports, showing binders, there was a lot more, I guess, clout and respect around the idea that, like, a YugiTuber or whatever, at the time, I don't know if that term existed back then. I guess it's a Yu-Gi-Oh player who had a YouTube channel. If they, topped, could you trust them? Were they good? Did they have the skill to back it up? And I think a lot of that has, just sort of carried on into today, where people view YugiTubers, maybe consciously or subconsciously, as these authority figures, and they see us as like, oh, we must be experienced Yu-Gi-Oh players, or really good Yu-Gi-Oh players, or maybe professional Yu-Gi-Oh players. Just want to get this out of the way now. I am none of those things. I don't purport to be any of those things. I don't claim to be good at this game. I don't claim to have any particular, skill or accolades to my name. I've played in some regionals and some ICS events. I've done all right. That's the best I can say. So I'm not the person you need to come to for that. But anyway, I'm saying all this because I think this is sort of where a lot of it starts. Also, fundamentally, Yu-Gi-Oh is a competitive game in that it's a contest between two people. You've got your deck, I've got my deck, we duel, and the objective is to win. Someone has to win at the end of the day, or, whatever. I guess you can draw, but you know what I mean. Like, fundamentally, you're aiming to win. I think what a lot of people forget, though, and it's becoming more and more apparent in recent years, is that Yu-Gi-Oh is, it's a property, it's a media franchise. There's a lot more to Yu-Gi-Oh than just playing the game, and there's a lot more to playing the game than just winning. So there are plenty of ways that you can enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh outside of even playing. You can just enjoy the anime. You can just enjoy collecting cards. Recently, I've seen a lot of diversity even within those realms. People have really specific collections, PSA graded collections, ultimate rare collections, classic old school stuff. There's a lot more Yu-Gi-Oh merch, and some people just like the characters and how the monsters look, and they just want merch of it. A Blue Eyes statue that's like coming out, a Dark Magician figure, figures of the characters in the anime like Yugi and Joey and Merrick and stuff that you like. It's fine to just collect those, and that's your Yu-Gi-Oh collection. There's a lot of cosplay. There's a lot of fan art. There are a lot of ways to engage with this game and this media property, and have a really fun time with it, and you don't have to be good at Yu-Gi-Oh to do any of that. However, I feel that a lot of players forget that. Specifically, I guess when they're watching Yu-Gi-Oh! You guys all know like how backseat dueling goes. It's something that nobody really likes, but a lot of people still do. So maybe there's a mismatch there. But people like to watch other players' games and like critique. You misplayed here. Oh, you messed this up here. Oh, you should have done this. It's optimal. What are you doing? And it can start off maybe coming from a pretty good place, like where maybe you're just trying to help them correct a mistake, but quickly can lose, I guess, it can spiral a bit further than that. Where, a streamer might be like streaming Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever, and in the chat's just like, oh, you misplayed, oh, you suck with this deck, what are you doing? This is crazy, you should have done this, you should have done that. Where the backseat dueling gets like really bad. Same with YouTube, plenty of deck profiles, you will go in the comment section, and I've just found people who just, spit out paragraphs of why this deck sucks. It's terrible, why are you running this? This deck is awful, it's not what I wanted to see. I've shared details about that in the past, so I won't get into it too much here. But the thing is, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players are competitive, or at least, competitive to some degree, and I think will kind of lose self-awareness in the process where, remember, people enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh differently. It's okay to build a deck differently than the masses. It's okay to make different plays. It's okay if they're suboptimal. And sometimes people want to get better, but they're just learning, and they get like judged really harshly for it. Or sometimes people might be really good and you might not necessarily understand why they play the way they do, but hey, if they're getting results that way, that's also fine. I think that people do all of that and it can cause a lot of like tension and strife and just anxiety. Not just like for a content creator, but also for other players. Sometimes new players get treated really badly because if they don't, play their deck perfectly, or they don't build their deck perfectly, or they're not like winning tournaments at their local scene, they're apparently scrubs. And they suck, and like they're tournament fodder, and whatever, they're bad. Just like, these words that are so negative, but like we're all playing a card game, guy. Like there's nothing to. I don't see the need to like put people's actual like worth lower because they're not as good at Yu-Gi-Oh as you are. Or they haven't done as well at Yu-Gi-Oh as you are. It's really weird, and that's just like for like any new player who comes into card shops. I see it all the time at the local card shops that I go to. It happens. Like people, there's cliques, and people like to pretend like them and their friends are maybe the good people, and like everybody else is not good or whatever, or like there's some problem with just going to locals and playing a deck that you enjoy, or going to locals and being satisfied with maybe not winning every week but just playing every week. I know a lot of people in Yu-Gi-Oh who just play at locals every single week with decks that they like, just different decks that are fun, and they enter and they're not necessarily expecting to win, they just do their best. And I know that it can seem like, okay, why are you entering a tournament if you don't plan to win or whatever? If those players didn't exist, and we didn't have like, just kind of more casual players, there wouldn't be a Yu-Gi-Oh scene, there wouldn't be enough people. The amount of people who like really want to drop hundreds or thousands on this game and like, get really, really sweaty about like, the best plays and all that stuff. It's a small amount of people. It's a small subset of people. And so effectively, that's not enough to maintain a game. You've got to have a lot more people. And so, it gets pretty rough. And the thing is, as a content creator, it can also get really annoying. I know that for viewers, they might be watching a deck profile or watching a duel or whatever unfold, and they're just like, what? It's crazy. How could he not see this play? It's so obvious. Or he misplayed here and here and here. Like, this guy sucks with this deck. For a content creator, honestly, it can be really stressful. I've talked to a lot of different streamers about this, and most like, bigger YouTube streamers and stuff and all that stuff, people will just be like, hey, no backseat dueling in chat. It's stressful, it's anxiety, maybe people mean well, but it can just get really out of hand. It's actually a lot of the reason why, just on Team APS that we sort of shifted away from doing like deck profiles. A lot of people are like, okay, you guys should do, a tournament with your real competitive decks. And I've got a number of reasons why I don't really do that. But one of those reasons is because, nitpicks and stuff like that, it gets annoying. Nobody really wants to deal with that type of thing in YouTube comments all day long. It's like, oh, you misplayed here, you misplayed here, oh, you guys suck with this deck or whatever. So that's kind of why I've just been like, it's better to just not worry about it. I can play this game, fairly competitively with my friends, but I've just chosen to do it kind of more in private. I think that, making video content out of it, it introduces a level of stress that I and many of the rest of us, like on Team APS, and plenty of other content creators really don't want to deal with. People can be, it's annoying, and like, why even deal with that? Now, don't get me wrong. There are, plenty of channels, there are plenty of places, discussion forums and groups and stuff where you can, get into the nitty gritty and really optimize decks and plays and all that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing it. I think that there's a time and place though, and sort of having self-awareness and recognizing that somebody's worth as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, like just a Yu-Gi-Oh enthusiast, a person who just engages with Yu-Gi-Oh, is not based on how good they are at the game. Like I said at the start, there's a lot of ways you can enjoy this game, and people would do well to respect other players who don't necessarily play at all. Respect players who play but aren't as good as you are, and help people out. I mean, if people want to be helped, you can help people in a constructive way. I think that, nitpicks or just calling people bad isn't really the way to go about it. Sometimes people are new and they're learning. Sometimes they just don't want to necessarily be the very best duelist on the planet. Maybe they have, other hobbies and this is just one of them. So yeah, that's the video. Hopefully it didn't feel too negative. I don't want this to come across as me saying that competitive Yu-Gi-Oh players suck and they're ruining everything. That's not the case. Plenty of those people are totally nice. It's just practice self-awareness. Remember that you can enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh in a lot of different ways. We're all playing the same game. Be cool. No big deal. All right, gone on long enough. You guys can share plenty of experiences, I'm sure, down in the comments. As always, I like to read that stuff, so let me know. See you guys in the next one. Pass turn.